Hey guys, welcome back. This is now Season 4, Episode 1 of my viewer save being done for MreGamersSports. So after the disaster which is known as Season 3, and the strong ending that we had to Season 3, it actually filled me with a lot of hope coming into Season 4. Up to sort of, I say, the three-quarter mark of last season when I was really concerned how it was going, the improvements we made really made me hopeful that we're going to do well this season. Let's have a look at some of the transfers and that happened in the off-season before we start looking at the games and that in the first part of Season 4. Okay, so as you can see, lots of transfers going on here. The first guy that went out was Matthew Briggs. I only actually had him for a season, and I originally got him from Fulham. He was basically designed to be my #1 left back last season because I felt I was kind of lacking in that department. The problem that I had was, although he played well last season and he was actually quite happy to be here, and I was one of his favorite personnel, problem was he wanted 12,000 a week. Looking at his stats, I didn't think that justified 12,000 a week. He wouldn't really budge off of that, and I thought, well, it's an expensive commodity, and I'm sure that I can do better than that in the transfer market. I had Tunkara go out. I wasn't really playing him that much, though he has decent speed. I sent him out on loan just so he can get some first-team football. James Ward-Prowse, once again, he wasn't a bad player, but I didn't really see him getting much playing time with my strong midfield that I had. Vladimir Koman, last season I found that he complained a lot. He wasn't very happy with like team talks and that. We would have like a team meeting and I say, you guys are doing really well, I'm pleased how things are going, and he just looked to switch off. So I just had enough of that. Yatabari, he wasn't a bad midfielder, but I just found that his stats that he had, he never really excelled at being like a ball-winning midfielder because he has such poor marking and tackling, and he was okay at being an attacking midfielder, but I didn't really have a good role for him. He had good pace, good jumping, but I couldn't really utilize him as best I could. So I thought, well, I'm sure I can improve on the position. A lot of youngsters went out. I just didn't sign them to contracts. Like Vid Bellic, although he was my sort of #2 goalie last season, I decided that I was going to use Bruno, who was my out on loan the season before, as my secondary goalie, and my Danish goalkeeper as my #1. Wasn't really much of a great loss, although he was improving a bit. You know, you can see he's on 10,500 a week, and those are his stats, and he hasn't really improved that much. And there's a long period that he wasn't with the club, so I didn't feel it was a great loss. Farinetti, I decided to sell. I decided to cash in on him because, once again, he was around the age of 29. I had Dennis Apaya, who was my a younger right back who needs some first-team football. His wages were a bit high, and I only got him for 575k, so I made a nice little profit off of him. And as you can see, he never really had a good season other than his first season where he registered over 7.0 in his average rating. So although he's a fan favorite, I did get a bit of stick over that, but you know, I felt it was a good decision in the end. Kegelmacher, he wasn't bad, but he was slow. So there were some people looking at him, and I had Willy Bolly and Yaya Banana as my 2 central defenders, and they were doing so much better than he was. Although he had good leadership skill, I couldn't really justify keeping him on as a leader. He never really, his personality didn't really transfer over as a good tutor. So there wasn't really a long-term benefit of keeping him past that point. Once again, this guy, I wasn't playing him. I don't think I played him in a senior game all season, so he left. Carrasco, once again, he hit the age around 2021. He hadn't really improved that much, and from my midfield upward, I'm quite pleased with it. So I didn't see him getting much playing time, so I thought I'd try and cash in on him. Dominic Pander, once again, he's a guy who came through. I didn't see him as getting playing time, so I loaned him out with the hope that it's going to be permanent. You can see a lot of this. I'm trying to get a lot of my wages down. Money is a big issue here. We're not getting a ton of cash coming in during the season. Our attendance isn't great. We've got a pretty small stadium compared to some of the big clubs in France. So this guy signed. Once again, his stats kind of fluctuated. He was okay, but he wasn't great. And he was 27, and his wages that he wanted was quite high. I think he was on something like even maybe 18, 19,000 a week. So he had like maybe, you know, one season with us I got for free, and I could sell him for 1.6 million after loaning him out for a few seasons. So it was kind of worth it. And you can see he never really excelled that well. He never really got decent stats until he's playing the reserves now. So he wasn't bad. He just wasn't great. A couple of guys sent out on loan from my youth team. You can see I got a lot of loans here on players going out. The only annoyance that I had is this guy. This was a 15-year-old youngster who came through my youth system who looked pretty promising. And I started to work on his marking, his tackling, and the board actually accepted a bid for him. The only plus point really that he has is that after he reaches one international match, we'll get, I think, 250k, and we get 20% of his sell-on, 20% of the profit of his sell-on fee. So I was kind of perturbed that they sold him. He looked like a good player. Could be the next Lilian Thuram. So if I find out that he becomes an absolute beast in the future, I'm going to be pretty pissed. So if you remember, I sold my right back. I let him go. I didn't need him. One of the main reasons I did that is that Barcelona offered me this guy for free. Absolutely great acceleration, pace, agility, decent concentration. Composure needs a bit of work, but for a 20-year-old with those sort of stats, I thought, not a problem. So I basically now have him and Dennis Apaya as my right backs, and you can see he's worth 2.5 million. So he's gotten some regular games so far this season. He hasn't done badly, but he is very much in a supporting role. I got a couple of youngsters come in who actually have gone into first team or rotation football. If you remember, I sold my left back at the beginning of the season, which was Matthew Briggs. I managed to pick up this guy for 925k, so almost the same price as him. And as you can see, his stats are much better. Good agility, good balance, good pace, good determination, decent crossing, dribbling, and he's a 4.5 star. And you can see already during the season his stats have gone up. And, he's at 6.98, so that's not too bad. And I actually now have 3 people who can speak Croatian. One actually changed nationality from Croatian to Brazilian, but from Croatian to German, but still he's a Croatian at heart. This guy picked up for my midfield. He looks pretty decent. I managed to get him for 550k, which was his compensation fee that I paid. He's kind of rotating through my midfield now. I feel my midfield is pretty strong. I've got a couple of good players there, and I'll show you those in a second. This guy, I actually found out that I could search for player preferred moves when you're looking for players. And I really want someone who could curl the ball. And his stats weren't bad either. Doesn't have the greatest personality, but what I'm hoping for is to try and get some of those transferred over to some of my players. And he's played a few games, and he hasn't done badly in 25 games. He scored 7 goals as well. So he's been a nice revelation. He's only there for 1 season, so at the end of the season, his 17k a week is coming off the books. So I'm not too concerned about that. And also, it's it's a shame really, because in the tutoring that I've done for him, none of his player preferred moves have transferred over. Now you're probably wondering why I got this guy in on loan. Well, I'll explain that later on. He was kind of a necessity, and he hasn't done too badly when he's here, but he is pretty much in a rotation role. For these 4 people here, I basically got them in for tutoring. They're retiring at the end of the season. No one really special. They're all half-star players, but with decent determination and personality. This guy came up to me in my scouting. He was, I think I paid 65k for him. I bought him from Shamrock Rovers. And once again, he's a rotation type player for my midfield. He's a youngster. Even if I sell him for a couple million in a few seasons, I'd be happy with that. He does need a lot more work than some of my other midfielders. He needs some work on his passing and some work on his mental stats. But other than that, he looks like a decent buy. And like I said, he's currently in a rotation at the moment. And the last guy I got during the season was this guy, which I kind of screwed up on a little bit. He's a Japanese international. He was offered to me for free. He's played in some first-team football. The reason why I screwed up is I had actually already filled all my foreign slots. So he's actually sitting in the reserves at the moment, which he's going to be doing for this season. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have him as one of my main 4 foreign slots. I'll have Eric Torres, Carlos Fierro, this guy, and probably going to have Bruno as my backup goalie, just because I kind of need him as my backup goalie. He's got a good personality, no player preferred moves, but still, I'm going to turn him more into a midfielder as a ball-winning midfielder. Right, so now that we've gone through that, I'll just briefly go over my team, and then we can look at the fixtures and that. So this is my team going into Season 4. A couple of these people are youngsters that are in here at the moment because I needed them to fill in roles because I had Yaya Bananas suspended and Willy Bolly picked up an injury. But in general, my main goalie would be this guy, who's turned out to be a bit of a pleasant surprise. He's only 3 stars out of 4.5, so you can see he's going to improve a little bit. There's going to be some nice 16s throughout there, I hope. From my midfield, a couple of people have come on quite well. This guy's turned into an absolute tank in the center of midfield. He was just an absolute steal. He's got good corners, good crossing, good passing, good technique, good first touch. Once again, I can see he's going to turn into another good player. And once again, he's only at 3 stars out of 4.5. And although he says he's susceptible to injuries, he's not actually picked up that many injuries, which is nice. The other guy who makes up the second part of my midfield is, as soon as I find him, is this guy. I've actually had to play him in defense at the moment, but you can see, although his aggression isn't high, he's a really good ball-winning midfielder. He's the guy that used to be a Croat that's turned into a German. He's got a good personality. He's a wonder kid. He's got no player preferred moves at the moment, but he's going to be sort of a good tutor in the future. I showed you the Japanese guy before and the Irish guy, who's the other part of my midfield. For my striking, I got Eric Torres, Carlos Fierro, and Yaya Sanago. These two actually had long-term injuries. I think it was Eric Torres had a broken leg, and Carlos Fierro had a torn calf muscle. One of the two. Whatever it was, they're out for about 4 to 5 months, which kind of concerned me. It basically meant that Yaya Sanago was taking up the whole amount of goal scoring, so then I had to pick up this guy on a loan just to cover my back. I'm quite happy with my midfield because I have quite a few people that can play throughout the 3 positions. Like Charlotto's turned into a great player, someone I picked up for free and now worth 4.3 million. He really does a good job of dictating play on the right side of the pitch. And I don't want to get rid of him. Although he's only determined, he has some decent player preferred moves for the right-sided midfielders. With the other players I have, it's pretty much very similar to what I had in Season 3. You can see I haven't changed it that much. As for my under-19s, we've actually, at this point, we've just taken in our newest batch of youngsters. But you can see we have a pretty decent amount of players coming through. Some of these used to be 4.5 star. Some of them were actually in my senior team. So, let's see. This guy was actually a youngster that's come through. He's probably going to play youth team football next season. He's just kind of covering at the moment. And the same with, if I can find him, this guy. He's probably going to be playing under 19 football next season as well, just because I'm pretty decent for my midfield, like I said before. With the other players coming through, they're still quite young. I don't really need to worry about him too much. This guy, I don't know what I'm going to do with him. I'm probably going to sell him, get some money back for him. So, now that I've shown you my team, let's have a look at the fixtures and see how the start of the season went. So, coming into the start of the season, I was quite pleased with our 2-0 victory that we had in the friendlies. I was a bit concerned coming into the start of the season, because as you can see, we had some pretty heavy defeats. I wasn't that concerned after I looked at the team that we fielded, though. We weren't really fielding our #1 team, so a lot of youngsters in there, people I probably wouldn't play as a normal, first team football. I was basically trying to get match fitness and money at the beginning of the season. So we finished off with like a 6-0 win over our under-19s. The big thing that I liked at the beginning of the season, we beat Ajaccio and we beat Lorient, which was expected. This is what I was really pleased about. We beat PSG 5-0. That was a great result for us. Eric Torres has a hat trick. Siklik scored in the 91st minute. Barazite scored. It was 11 versus 11 the whole match. I was very, very impressed with how we did. We basically played them off the park pretty much. It was actually soon after that I changed it that Torres was going to drop into the attacking midfielder role instead of the striker role. Might be a bit of a strange choice, but since I did it, I found out that he's been getting sort of bossed in midfield a lot. Disappointed at the 3-1 loss to Montpellier. I actually thought we were probably a better team than they have at the moment. They've sold quite a few of some of the good players. 2-0 win against Nancy. That I was disappointed about. 3-2 loss to Bordeaux. It was pretty much 3-1 for the most of the game, and the only thing that was quite good about it was a really good goal by Snuggle in the 43rd minute. We kind of tied it up 2-2, and I thought, well, we might be able to draw, we might be able to get away with a snatch a win, but 78th minute, we let a sloppy goal in, and we never sort of came back from that. So once again, we're knocked out in the third round of the League Cup. Obviously, the fans and the board were disappointed about it, but they kind of understood that we lost to Bordeaux, not a lower league team. After that, you can see we actually went on a pretty decent run. This was actually a really good scoreline for us, because at the beginning part of the season, Saint Etienne were absolutely ridiculous. They were scoring goals left, right, and center. So I was very pleased to get a win off them. We won at Nice, which was good because it was a local rivalry, so I was pleased about that. Beat Auxerre, they just got promoted, so that was to be expected. Kind of disappointed with the 2-1 loss. I think we played well enough to actually draw that game. As you can see, we had most of the possession. We had the same amount of shots. Most of our shots were off target. We had better possession. They had more yellow cards than we had. One thing I've actually noticed with this formation is actually we get fouled a lot. I mean, like if you look at the, I think it's under match stats. So, where's it? Fouls. They had 20 fouls to our 14. It's amazing the amount of fouls that we get. Beat Evian 3-0, which is to be expected. They're not a good team. I was kind of concerned here because we had 2 1-1 draws. But looking at the team that they have here, they have Niang, who's an absolute speed demon, and Sun's defense is into fits, so I'll kind of give them that one. Beat Bordeaux 1-0, beat Stade Brestois 2-1, lost to Lille 2-1. kind of disappointed at that, but still. Beat Toulouse 2-0. I was actually pleased with that. Toulouse, I think, even at this point of the season, has let in, I think, one of the fewest amount of goals so far. Lost 3-0 to OL. Disappointed, but not really surprised. OL has actually only lost one game this season, and they've only let in 17 goals, which is just crazy. Like I said before, Toulouse has only let in 20. The only plus point is they've only scored 28 goals. OL has only let in 17 goals and scored 54 goals. It's crazy. They have an absolutely crazy goalie and absolutely crazy squad as well. But then again, they're spending more money on their squad, so that's kind of to be expected. It's insane. £21 million for a goalkeeper, and he normally gets the award for goalie of the season, which is to be expected. Amazing his average rating isn't that high, but still. So lost 3-0, came back and had lots of wins. Beat Dijon 2-0, beat Lens 4-1. It's kind of expected. They're in the lower part of the table. Did all of our friendlies, which we won. I was pleased at this. We finally beat Bordeaux 2-1. They kind of seem to be our bogey team. We always seem to get Bordeaux in cup rounds, and they always seem to beat me. Lost 3-0 to PSG. Really played badly. Really played badly. We were just played off the park. It was, you can see we only had 10 shots, although we had possession. Only 3 of them were on target. They did a really good job of blocking the shots, and they really took the game to us. Beat Havre 5-0 in the 10th round of the FA Cup. So we had Eric Torres, Carlos Vieira. They'd come back from injury, I think around Christmas time or December time. Siklik scored, and Sinago had 2 goals. Drew with Montpellier. Kind of peeved at that, but still, what can you do? Beat Racing in the league, French Cup, 11th round, to be expected. We were expected to have a dominant win there. Drew with Nancy, a bit disappointed, but still. I was pleased we beat Saint-Etienne 4-0. I was really pleased about that. Saint-Etienne, up to that point in the season, they were actually lurking in the top 3, and they've kind of gone off a bit. They were, as you can see, they were sort of top half for most of the season. So soundly beat a top 16 that much was nice. To draw with Nice was a bit of a disappointment. I was kind of hoping for a bit more because it was a derby in that. Beat Auxerre 4-1 again, lower end team. Not really expected to do very well this season, so I was pleased about that. Lost in the quarterfinals, Stade Reims. They once again, I just can't seem to beat this team very easily. They, I don't know, maybe they're my bogey team. I'm pleased to get to the quarterfinal, though. It's a big improvement over the last few seasons. Like the last few seasons, we always get knocked out in the first round. This is probably my favorite win so far. A 3-1 win over OM. Eric Torres, Wesley Said, and Willy Bolly. It was good. I was pleased with that. It was a full stadium as well, just about. And it was a televised match, so that's pretty good. Evian beat 1-0. Seemed to make hard work of it, but a win is a win. And once again, we lose to this team. Once again, Now, when saying that, this is when I did have Yaya Banana out, suspended. Actually, no, sorry. Yaya Banana had come back from suspension, but I had Willy Bolly out injured. So I had to use my 16-year-old in defense as well as my other guy, and they played us off the park. It was, they had more possession. They had, less shots on target, but the ones that they had counted. I kind of started to push once it was 1-0. I pushed. I got 1-1. I pushed for the winner, and I made a mistake. So I can't really complain too much. After last season, when we were in 20th for most of the season, managed to scrape by in 15th with a really strong end of the season. As you can see, we're in second place. And the plus point is that even if we drop down to 6, we'd have to drop 13 points, and we'd still be in Europe. So you can see there's a nice significant gap between 5th and sort of the top 4. I would be disappointed with the way that we've played all season if we finished in 4th, just for the fact that I think we played well enough to even nick 3rd place. Like, I wouldn't mind if we finished in 3rd, because then that means at least we're getting Champions League football, which is a massive turnaround from this. There we were horrid. Just a horrid season. Nothing was working until I changed the tactic. And even the season before that, it was, a really crap couple of seasons that we had. So I'm pleased with this. I'm very happy. The team's playing well. We've only lost 6 games. We're scoring goals by tons of goals. And the nice thing I like about that as well is that we scored most of these goals without having Fierro and Torres. So, thank you for watching. Catch me in the next episode where we talk about the end of Season 4 and see where we finish and if we get Europe.